Okay, this week, as promised, here we go. So first off, I thought I was gonna take the car out, but starting to sprinkle a little bit, so we may be out of luck. Anyway, this week, y'all, man, come on. I don't know what the heck was going on. I've been trying to keep it together, but sometimes life is just life, and you deal with what you got to deal with. It is what it is at the end of the day, right? But anyway, y'all know I had that trip from Tennessee up to Pennsylvania, and it started out a little rocky. I got in one of the cars and had no gas in it because my husband had been driving it, and so it legitimately had no gas. And I thought I was running. I thought I was moving at a good pace. I thought I was on time. But when you find out you don't have gas, you got to stop and get gas. And so that quickly became a spectacle. But heading to the gas station, because I typically go to Costco, I didn't have my Visa card for Costco because they only accept Visa. If you know Costco, you know they only accept Visa. Um, but didn't have that particular card. So I was like, oh my God. So then I had to turn around, come back to the house. It was a whole spectacle. That's kind of how my Sunday morning to go fly started. And not even mad at myself. Not mad at my husband either. But at the end of the day, like, what can you do, right? It is what it is. This is what's happening. This is what's in front of you. And that set the tone for the next several hours. Got to the airport, parked right at the door because I leave the car at the door. And so got on the plane, left here, and went to Charlotte. And baby, my flight from Charlotte to PA was delayed for about 5 hours. Oh my God. I was sitting there. I was trying my best not to be upset. I was trying not to be frustrated. But while sitting there, a group of women that were on a girls' trip. I'm sitting there at this bar stool type thing that's at the center of the airport. And it's in the center. It's connected to the floor, and so you have all these wireless chargers and everything around you, which means that it would bring a lot of attention. It would bring a lot of people there trying to sit there and charge up their phones, which is why I was there. But there was so much action and so much confusion within this small area because there was like 6 or 7 flights going out of this one centralized location. It was they were doing construction in Charlotte. And so it was at the end of the concourse. And then you have all of these gates around it. And in fact, one of the little small hallways was roped off because it had 3 additional gates going down the hall. But the people getting on that flight all had to sit where we were sitting. And so it was just so much noise and so much chaos. But these ladies came over to me, and I mean, they bombarded the area. So much so that the people sitting next to me got up and left. I'm just like, girl, I'm not moving. Like, your bag, I had to send up pictures to my husband because I was like, her bags were like literally touching my feet. One of the girls, like, and she had about 7 of them. About 7 bags. And it was about 7 or 8 women on this girl's trip. But I was just like, oh my gosh. But it was so many of them, and they were so close that you would have thought we were traveling together. And I could not understand. Like, why would you invade somebody's space like that? And again, I know it was 2 people that got up after they came. And they were just like, oh no, you don't have to move. And I'm just like, girl, oh, okay. I feel like that was your intention. Like, you're saying you didn't have to move to be polite. But I feel like your intentions were to bombard everybody over here and just be in their space and make them so uncomfortable that they get up and move. And I'm like, honey, I'm not one of those people. You can kiss rocks because I'm not moving. I'm not moving. And so they had their food. Like, when I say their food was sitting right in front of my nose. Like, I am not over exaggerating. If anything had fallen out of my nose, it would have fallen into their bag. And I am not close to joking. And so I was just like, okay, I am irritated. So I had to text my husband. I was just like, I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting overstimulated by these people. Like I am just overwhelmed in this moment, and I gotta fix this. And whew, Jesus, their flight thankfully left. And the little town that I was going into, ironically, had a back-to-back flight. The flight that I was on was delayed by hours. The next flight was oversold, and so they were looking for volunteers to get off the flight. Number one, why do we have the exact same location traveling out of a gate that is side by side? You talk about confusion. So while you're talking about like one flight and then you have this other flight with another issue, like it is again very confusing. And I was just going crazy. Then I saw this supervisor going back and forth, and she was kind of trying to maintain all of the different gates and the different people that were there. Then she had like an emergency situation. Some guy wanted her to call the ambulance because our gate had got moved at that point, and so it moved to another gate that was on further down. And the guy, I personally think he didn't want to walk that far, and so he was just like, oh, I think he was like, I'm having palpitations or something. He said. And so as a supervisor, she was like, you can't say those kinds of things to me. Like, do you want me to call the ER? Like, do you want me to call the ambulance down? And so they did. The ambulance came and they were just like, okay, you need to drink some water. Like, literally was their response to him. I was just like, what is happening here? What is happening here? But anyway, and then one of the flight crew members walked into one of the doors and set the alarm off. And he tried to walk away. She, being the supervisor, ran over and was just like, oh, no, sir. No, sir. You have to call the airport police to give them your badge number to let them know that you did this. Accident or not, you have to call and correct that. And it triggered me like crazy because I stepped right into her shoes. Most of you all probably have never heard of Northwest Airlines, so you probably have no idea who that is from years ago. But that's my age. I used to work for Northwest, and I actually used to control the Saab propeller planes. They're smaller aircrafts, but quite literally, there were 6 planes to a single gate, which means that you had to coordinate and you had to optimize those particular flights and those aircrafts or where they were going and the crew members that were assigned to them, the locations that those particular aircrafts were flying out to, which ones had maintenance. Like you had to prioritize the way that it was coming in and out of the gate. Like you had to be strategic. Like you had to strategize. And having to deal with all of the people there, asking all of the different questions, going to the different locations and not really understanding which planes is which. And it was a lot. And we used to always have crew members coming upstairs, setting off the alarm. And the airport security didn't play that. If you set off that alarm, like too many times, like they can deactivate your badge and or your access. And so they are very, very, very strict about security. And so when that happened, it triggered my memory. And I just immediately had empathy for this woman because there were so many different situations going on in this little small area. And I had to go over to her and I just said, you know what, like, ma'am, no, you don't know me, but thank you for all the stuff that you do behind the scenes that nobody ever gets to see. Yeah. And so I was having a moment. I was sitting there, even though my gate had changed. I was like, shit, it was not going out for another 2 hours. So I was like, I might as well sit here and charge up my phone. And so I did. And so I got a chance to kind of not have an out of body experience, but kind of step out of the moment. And then, which kind of brought me to her moment. And to be able to do that, to share that moment, to have that memory, I'm very grateful. I am so appreciative that I have the ability to do that. But anyway, I ended up getting on the plane, flew, no major issues. We landed. I landed at around 10:30, and then I still had an hour drive to the other, because the smaller town that I was going to, where the office is about an hour away, hour and a half away from the closest airport. And So I had to drive. Like, and so that was probably the biggest anxiety piece for me that I was dealing with, is because I was like, once I get here, I still have to drive. Like, I still gotta drive. Like, good Lord, have mercy. Um, like, oh my gosh. But that was, anyway, I got there to the hotel. It was probably about 11:30 once I finally made it. But it definitely set the tone for that day. Exhausted as hell. I got up the next morning going into the office, and um, it's crazy how things can be put into perspective for you. Because we all are living different lives, different journeys, and that's what my manager was kind of sharing with me, and some of the things that she was grappling with. And sometimes you just never ever know what other people are dealing with. And so my manager was kind of going through some things that she had been dealing with, and she was just like, I'm trying to do this and I got to do this, and my family depends on me for this, and I have to get this done. And I immediately shared a quote with her that I shared with you guys last week. And it's a quote that I love, that popped in my head and that I'm living myself. And that is, life will give you 10 problems, but you have to remember that you only have two hands. Handle what is in front of you in this moment, and remember that panicking about anything around you only makes you forget just how capable those two hands that you have really are. And I shared that with them, and my manager was just like, Jimmy, like, I'm getting chills. And I was like, that was not my intentions, but I just really wanted to remind her that, yeah, like, life gives us a lot of things to deal with in a moment, but we can only deal with what's in front of us. And anytime we think too far ahead of what's in front of us, we rob ourselves of remembering just how capable we really are. And so I was reminded of that quite a bit throughout this week, because my VP was in town there in Pennsylvania, and he's still the new guy, right? I think he's been there for about 2 months. And so everybody is starting to understand his way of thinking and his way of leading. And what I'm loving is he recognizes his title, he recognizes the weight that it has, while also being realistic. And so he had a couple of meetings or something scheduled, I think, last week, and it made a lot of people panic because, creating a sense of urgency, so to speak. And he immediately recognized, like, hey, that's not my intention. Like, I'm wanting to do this as a cadence, and, like, this was just the first one. Like, I listed in the meeting notes, like, this is what I'm wanting to do. This is not a fire drill. And so he brought that up because he brought it up last week on the call. He brought it up again while we were all in person. And he was just reminding everybody, like, if I think or believe something is going to be urgent, I will let you know. Don't immediately jump to that conclusion. And there was so many people on our team that needed to hear that. And I'm really glad that I have a VP and my manager that are self-aware enough to know, like, the decisions that they're making has consequences, and they're not afraid to apologize for it. And so, in fact, we had a good conversation. He was giving out some expectations, and I had questions, baby. I have questions, because I don't believe in agreeing to something that I can't sustain, or that my team cannot sustain. And so I was asking all these questions in person in front of everybody, which I don't know why so many people are so shy and or silent, especially in leadership positions. Because I'm like, you should be there in these rooms speaking for your team. Like, you have to speak up. Like, get clarity. If you don't know, get clarity. And that's what I was doing. And so, not trying to challenge him and or his authority, was not trying to embarrass him, like, none of the above. But he was able to be man enough to say, Jimmy, I don't have the answer to that. I don't know. We're going to figure this out together, but I don't have an answer to that. And so, actually, toward the end of his trip, because he left, I think, a day before I did, and he pulled us into the room, like the three of us that were still there, and was just very appreciative and thanked me personally about pushing back and about providing that additional feedback and that additional context. Because at the end of the day, what I'm learning about him is he really is trying to make us better. Like he really is pushing for automation and not perfect, but metrics, KPIs that we can actually like gauge ourselves by. And so he was appreciative. When that's your mindset, you are appreciative and thankful when somebody pushes back and says this piece doesn't make sense, or I don't understand this, right? Because that is a person that is bought into what you are selling, which was me, and I want to help you accomplish that goal. I gotta have these things filled out so that I can help you do that. And so, which is crazy because I was trying my best to be there and be present, but it was some other things that was going on with me with my business. My business partner calling during some of the meetings, and I'm like, I still got my business to take care of. I enjoy my 9 to 5, but I'm like, I still have a husband, I still have my mother that I love, and they come first. I'm also the business. Like I still got to run my side of the business. And so my business partner called, and one of the guys that was dropping off the transmission, I had to do the payment over the phone. And gratitude this week was on point. Because listening and talking to that guy, I was just like, sir, like, hello, this is Jimmy. I'm used to talking to professionals. I'm used to people, when they hear me, they know who I am. And there's a level of respect that comes along with that. Like, I don't waste your time, so don't waste my time. And so getting on this call with this man, I was just like, hey, this is Jimmy, hey. And so he was just like, hey. And I'm just like, I'm not trying to have a conversation with you. Like, time is money. Like, dude, like, are you going to take this payment? Like, what's going on? And so, like, I got things I got to go back and do. And so he was just like, oh, we can't do that. Well, how do you want to get paid, sir? And so he was just like, well, I can't do it over the phone. Well, sir, what do you want to do? Like, don't just give me a problem. What's the solution? I'm trying to pay you. And so I didn't say it that way, of course, but having to remember my audience, like I had to break it back down. And so I was just like, we got a couple options. Like I'm not even in Tennessee right now, so I cannot come to there and pay I can't come there to you to pay. I can have my business partner business to cover this expense, and I pay them back later. But I do need you to quickly come to a conclusion as to what it is that you're expecting in this moment. And so I did professionally say that to him in a way that he understood it, while also him recognizing that I don't have time, but also like I'm recognizing you're a person, right? And so I think, at least I hope that's how I came across. But he ended up taking the payment over the phone. And I think the bigger issue is he was on the phone with me, and his payment was through his phone, so he didn't know how that was going to go. And in his experience, it wasn't going to work. And so, and in my experience, I had to be humbled to realize that my business partner deal with these people on a consistent basis. I don't have to. Like I'm an investor behind the scenes, and I show up with the money. I don't show up with the people and having to deal with these major issues that he's having to deal with. And so I'm very appreciative of that. And like I very am, much so. But at the same time, I'm just like, dude, like I got to get these vehicles up and running. At this point, I got 3 vehicles that are down. One needing a transmission. The other 2, one is going to the shop now to see what's going on with it. The other one just got the parts delivered. So I'm like, and so all of these things, I'm just like, time is money. Like I need this car up and running quickly. But like it is what it is at the end of the day. But those cars are like, they got to pay for the business, right? Anyway, it's a joy and a privilege. And so I'm very appreciative of it, and I don't take it for granted. In fact, again, back to the gratitude, like this week has been a week of gratitude for me, and I'm very, very thankful. Even the fact of my company being able to fly me there and back, and oh wow, one of our fish has passed away. Oh, okay, we're gonna have to take him out of there. Um, I mean, we've had them for a few years. They are goldfish, and I know their life expectancy is not that long, but anyway. Um, I guess I'll put the cover back on the car since it started to rain. I don't know. Anyway, coming back home, gratitude hit me even better. even better than I could have imagined, because there were no issues coming back home. I think that flight was delayed by maybe 10 or 15 minutes, but it wasn't the end of the world. Um, and I was okay. I was at peace. I knew I was coming home, and I knew that I had people waiting for me. And I'm really thankful for that. People truly um, wanting me to be around and wanting me to be safe. And I'm very, very grateful for that. Um, and it's just, I don't know, like getting in the plane. And I was telling them this week as well, that being on the plane and reaching altitude and that takeoff, it's one of my most happy places. And it's amazing. It is freaking amazing. And so to see the clouds there and flying through them, and yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but I definitely enjoy it. And I'm appreciative, very much so. And so I got a chance to spend time with my husband once I got back. We went out and did some errands. My god kids called, and school is starting next week, and so they wanted some school supplies. And so being in a position where I can afford to go and spend, a good amount of money on school supplies for them and backpacks and so forth, being in a position to be able to do that. Um, yeah. So anyway, y'all see my baby? Ah, he is so handsome, isn't he? Anyway, I guess that's it. We're gonna rock and roll and get out of here. A lot happened this week for sure, but at the end of the day, it all drove me back to an unbelievable amount of gratitude. And so, thank you guys for being on this journey with me. It's fun. It's interesting. And I'm thankful for you all as well. But anyway, at the end of the day, I know we're all in this thing together, and we are just still becoming more of ourselves. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.